What's up, Gov?
What's up, Logan?
We're back in here, man. We're going to talk about some contest selection. But I had my friend who's a big NFL guy who's never played DraftKings before because he's a younger guy for one, but two, it wasn't legal in his state for a long time. So I think it's interesting because I basically asked him to rank the top flex option for every team uh, that he thought DraftKings would have. And so Gov's never seen this list. And so basically it's kind of stuff. See if we can stump the DraftKings marketplace essentially, where it's his list against DraftKings based on what he thinks DraftKings will do. I probably described that terribly, but it is what it is. Hopefully you guys get the concept. Maybe Gov can help me better explain that in case I mess. Are you following?
Oh, I got you. So basically, we've got a list of the top skill players for each team in the league, and we're going to compare that to what DraftKings has as their top skill player or their most expensive skill player for each team. See how close it is to, as you said, one of your friends who is knowledgeable of football and would be able to tell, like, yeah, this is clearly the best skill player on the team. We're not talking about the quarterbacks. That's an entirely different conversation. We're talking about running backs, wide receivers, tight ends to a degree. Who's the best skill player on a team?
Right. So basically, the super flex of the flex position, and he did this based on what he thought DraftKings would say. So, but he's never seen.
Right. This is someone who hasn't played on DraftKings, but is basically like, who would be the top fantasy player for a team?
Right.
That's not the quarterback.
Right. Essentially, he did a value ranking based on what he thought they would do. And I thought that would be a great conversation to bleed into contest selection because, we talk about cash and tournaments and things like that, and people can over leverage and they can overthink things. And so I thought this guy who's never seen a DraftKings lineup before, he's not overthinking it, Gov. He's just going in and listening to the best guy. And that might be what you want to do in a cash scenario when you build a lineup, or he might name a tournament guy that makes more sense. So I think this is a kind of a fun way to look at contest selection as a whole as we kind of get closer. And I did want to do a deep dive into contest selection, of course, as we know more about the flushing of injuries and that kind of thing closer to the actual season. But I think this would be a good way to kind of bridge the gap between NFL fan and DraftKings marketplace.
Yep, I agree. So which game, how do you want to start? You want to start with a team? You want to start with a game? Let's see what we're doing.
I was going to list the teams because that's how he listed it, so it'd be easy to read. So do you have DraftKings pulled up?
I do for myself. Yes, I do.
Okay, so I have his list. Why don't you pull up DraftKings and you tell us who DraftKings flex play is outside of quarterback, and I'll tell you his, and then we can discuss whether we agree with DraftKings or him.
All right, so give me a team.
So my friend Donnie said he thinks the 49ers best flex option.
Hold on. Let me go to the 49ers real quick.
Yep.
Okay.
That's called vamping. I was vamping for you.
You're good.
My friend Donnie has said that DraftKings thinks that DraftKings thinks that Deebo Samuel would be the best flex option.
Deebo Samuel is the most expensive flex option.
He was right
for San Francisco.
1-for-1. Do you agree with that?
After he got his contract, yes, because they are going to use Deebo. Probably, I don't see any reason why they wouldn't just use him as they have been. If he's willing, then it'll be able to happen. So, as much as George Kittle or the running game with Mitchell or Wilson could be big, it's just I think Deebo is the top skill player on San Francisco. But I do think he's a little overpriced myself.
I would agree because I will give you a cross sport reference. I think back in the day, Anthony Davis was more willing to play center, and now that he's not as effective. And it's not that Anthony Davis is right or wrong or Debo is right or wrong. I understand the wear and tear, and as you get older and you you know you get older and you realize, hey, this candle wick of my NFL career is going to get shorter. Even Tom Brady's candle wick gets shorter every year, even though he's kind of stood the test of time. Like everyone has, a certain amount of time they can spend in the game. I understand Debo being like, hey, I want to make money and I want to be proficient at one thing. And the splitting it up, we talk about baseball too with the Angels and Anana and the pitching. So like it's a weapon, but if you overuse it, it could be bad. I'll say that. But yeah, I think the salary is a bit high because I just think like he ran really hot with touchdowns too. I'll say that last year. He ran really hot with touchdowns. And without the touchdowns, I don't know if the rushing is as valuable. Anyway, next team.
All right, yes.
So we're going to go from a really good team with high expectations to a low team. He went with the Bears, and he said it's running back David Montgomery.
Very close. Very close. It is running back David Montgomery on DraftKings by a couple $100 over Darnell Mooney.
Okay, Donnie, you 2 for 2.
But to be fair, looking at it, there is not a really expensive guy on this list.
I would disagree. I would say it would be Mooney.
I do think Mooney is probably the top skill player.
Mm-hmm.
If Justin Fields... Now, Justin Fields might be a year away from taking that leap forward. But if he's able to play better this year, then it will be him or it will be someone in the passing game, maybe Pringle.
Yeah.
But like Montgomery will be solid, but we know what David Montgomery does.
Two reasons ago. One, rushing quarterbacks usually steal rushes away from running backs. Like that's
True.
just a fact. And then two, we're dealing with a DraftKings website that's PPR. If we're talking FanDuel or a half point, I would say David Montgomery edges them out. But with Mooney being the top option, with it being PPR and them having a rushing quarterback, I just think it makes sense that Mooney would be the guy.
I agree with that. I could say that. Especially with the PPR of DraftKings. I agree. All right, so that was a game, San Francisco versus Chicago. So what are his next two teams?
His next two teams are the Bengals. He went with Joe Mixon. And then the Bills, he went with Stefan Diggs.
Okay, so he didn't do two games in that one. So Mixon is tied with Jamar Chase as the number one.
Yeah,
I think it should be Jamar Chase. But Mixon was a guy who got 5+ passing, like he got 5+ targets a game.
I think Mixon is talented, but I think it's like Debo. I think he ran really hot based on the team's success and the ability to score touchdowns, kind of like Zeke did a couple years ago with the Cowboys.
Yeah, I agree. Mixon is not going to score 18 touchdowns again.
Yeah, Zeke had that year when the Cowboys did really well too. Honestly, I think Chase is the answer. I don't think it's close. He should be about 1,000. He should be about 1,000 more than Mixon. I think he's clearing away their best flex option. In fact, I think he's too cheap for week one. I would have Mixon ahead of Debo, for example.
And I believe Mixon and Chase are both less expensive than Debo.
Which is absurd to me, but
it is also absurd to me. That's why I think Debo is going to be really low owned, highly it'll be a leverage play, heavy leverage, low ownership on Debo. No one's going to want to play him.
I would
At
say
at that price with other guys around him, it's going to be a very rough. Like yeah, actually, that's the guy.
is
And
there a,
so I'm going to Buffalo next.
is there a contest though as you go to Buffalo? Is there a contest where Mixon makes more sense than Chase since it is so close for you? For me, it's Chase, and no one's giving him Chase, pun intended. But for you, it seemed close. So, like, would you play Mixon and Cash and Chase in a GPP or vice versa? Like, how would you break that down into
I could see playing both in cash.
contest selection?
Depending on how ownership
Yeah.
falls, I could see playing both in cash because they like both of them should have a good floor against Pittsburgh at home. They're gonna like
Mhm.
it's probably gonna be a decent total for Cincinnati. Like I could see like I might have Burrow stack. I could see definitely having Mixon and Chase, depending on it. I don't know if they're cash worthy. Like I wouldn't want to say that right now. They're not going to be probably chalky enough, but they're going to be good plays. Like,
So, what do you think about the
they are though in like the top 10 they're just outside the top 10 most expensive guys in all of the flex positions. Just behind
you would agree though that Diggs is the guy for the Bills?
I would agree. They get lucky on this one because the Bills are not on the main slate of DraftKings, so I don't have a salary for them. But I assume if I looked at the showdown, Diggs would be probably the top guy. That's not Josh Allen for Buffalo.
I think it would be Diggs. Who do you think the second guy would be? Just to kind of have a little fun here, so we could have a bit of a debate back and forth.
I think it would probably be Gabriel Davis. It might, like, because I think he just beats out Devin Singletary, who would probably be the third one. And then you get Knox right there. And now you get that drop in tier where kickers, defenses, backup running backs, which I want to see how that plays out and see if, like who do they actually use at running back for Buffalo?
Well, we saw Gabe Davis go crazy in best ball streets, but I think it's Stephon Diggs, and I really don't.
Diggs is definitely number one. I think Davis is number two, though.
Yeah.
All right. So what's the next team?
The next team he has the Denver Broncos with I believe Williams. Yeah, he said that Devontae Williams is the Broncos' best flex option on DraftKings to him.
And the Broncos are playing on Monday night, so I don't have them on the slate either. And I would also agree with you on that. And I think it would probably go Javonte, then probably Courtland Sutton.
Yeah, I just want to say I think the reason he ranked it this way, Gov, is because of the Gordon injury. So, like, if we find out Gordon was 100% healthy for week one, I think you could make the case for Sutton or Judy. But I think, given that Williams might be the primary running back and get 20 touches, I think it is Williams.
Yeah.
But I actually like Judy over Sutton this year. I like Sutton in a vacuum better as a player. Like, if you told me who would you rather have on the Lions, it would be Sutton. But I think Russell and Judy I think that chemistry it's just there more.
Yeah.
I agree. I think it's pretty clear cut. Without Melvin Gordon, Williams is going to be a primary focal point, and like he can catch passes too. I don't see any reason why he wouldn't be one of their top options. So the next team is the Cleveland Browns with Nick Chubb.
All right, Cleveland, I know, is on this slate. They are playing Carolina Panthers. Oh, it is. Oh, my dad's team versus my team. It's going to be a big one. Chubb is the number one guy on their team.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that in the NFL of these week one rivalry games, if you will. Baker taking on his little team. So there's a lot of shower narratives in this one.
I don't know about shower narratives, but there is a lot of those kinds of matchups this week. Yeah. I wasn't sure, like Amari Cooper, because of the quarterback controversy for Cleveland, I could see why they don't have the wide receivers very high. Although Amari Cooper is close to Nick Chubb and ahead of Kareem Hunt.
I think Nick Chubb has been one of the more underrated running backs in the entire league for the last 3 years. And I think it's due to Kareem Hunt. So that's why I would actually have Cooper ahead of him, because I just think PPR, Cooper's guaranteed role. There's no other wide receivers that really scare me outside of maybe David Njoku, who's more of an inline, who's obviously a tight end, but plays more like a wide receiver inline. But I just think Amari Cooper being a PPR website might outscore Chubb in week one, but I just think Chubb is supremely talented.
Agreed. Cooper might be at that price range where he seems pretty good too. We'll see as we get closer. What's the next team we got?
So he has the Buccaneers, and I couldn't disagree more with this one. Leonard Fournette. I don't like this pick at all. I think this is the one where he really messed up, because I think Ronald Jones could get in the mix.
Ronald Jones is no longer on the Bucs.
Well, he's no longer in the Jets mix.
Yep. If it was going to be anyone other than Lenny, it would be Mike Evans. And I don't see why it wouldn't be Mike Evans, to be honest. Although the Bucs are not on. No, they have to be on the main site, aren't they?
Nope. No, I don't believe they are.
Nope, they must be the Monday nighter, like against Denver, I guess.
Yeah, because Gov, you know who I wanted to play, buddy.
They're Sunday night. They play Sunday night. I forgot.
One of my favorites, Julio Jones. I will play that man some in DraftKings. Definitely week one if I play some showdown. But do you think it's Leonard Fournette? I don't think it is at all. I think it's far and away Mike Evans.
I think it should be Mike Evans. I agree. Fournette does get passing game work. He's definitely number 2.
Yeah.
Without the health, I see a Q-tagged Chris Godwin number 3.
And by the way, just to point out, just to clarify this guy's list, he is ranking what he thought DraftKings would do based on week one. So that's why he had Javonte Williams high, because he thinks Melvin Gordon's going to miss week one. So he's not saying that Judy doesn't have a longer season perspective or projection rather. He's just saying week one. So I just want to preface that as well. Are you ready?
And unfortunately, they don't have salaries up for the Sunday night or the Monday night game. So
right. I think either option's good. I think they'd be close. I think it would be like an Amari Cooper, a Nick Chubb situation, very similar price.
Yep, just the wide receivers, the clear one instead of the running back with Nick Chubb. All right, what's the next team?
So he's got he said it would have been Hopkins.
The Arizona Cardinals, okay.
Yeah, it would have been Hopkins not having the suspension, but he's got to go with James Conner.
Well, he is right that it is James Conner.
He's done really well for not being a DraftKings guy. I mean,
now here's the other thing though. Hopkins is third. There's the other point, though. He is right that it is Connor, but Hopkins is third behind Marquise Brown, Hollywood.
Yeah. So who would you rather have if you believe Hollywood plays week 1, given his potential legal ramifications? Like if everything cleared up and Hollywood or Connor, who would you take?
Oh, I want to play Connor. Connor, I'm good with. No problem playing Connor.
I think Connor would be the clear head-to-head matchup if you were to play. But obviously, Hollywood would have the GPP kind of swag because you're basically hoping for the Deshaun Jackson bomb.
True.
But I'd probably fade both of them. But that's just me because again, I would go with I'd be more likely to play Kyler Murray, and I just feel like again he would steal touches. But obviously, they like that option handoff, and so that you could argue that actually frees up James Conner to get around the edge because the defensive end is constantly thinking. So it does have a double-edged sword sometimes. The next team is the Chargers with Austin Ekeler.
Okay, so the Chargers. Ekeler is the number 1 guy. And with his passing game work, like all the work he gets, he is like a just sub Christian McCaffrey kind of guy where he gets a lot of work on both ends. But he also said this year that he was going to take a step back in his workload. And so I expect guys like Spiller and Kelly to take more snaps and do more. That being said, I really like Mike Williams. I think he should be number 2 behind Ekeler, but it is Keenan Allen, so that's not surprising.
See, I think Keenan Allen should be number 1, but I like Spiller a lot. I think Spiller is going to eat into Ekeler.
I'm with you on that. And he's not horribly expensive, but it seems like they priced up backups a little bit.
Smart. It's very smart to do that.
Mm-hmm. What's your next team?
We're gonna disagree strongly on this one. This is where he went off the rails. I think his cat took over his keyboard. For the Chiefs, he has Edwards-Helaire with honorable mention to Travis Kelce, but he thinks Edwards-Helaire is the most valuable flex option for the Chiefs, which to me is just absurd. Like, how can it not be Travis Kelce?
Yeah, it is Travis Kelce.
It should be Travis Kelce. You're wrong here. Donnie, you've been you got a 95 on the test. I can't hate on you, man, but this one is
Edwards-Helaire is second. He is second on the list. He's not horribly down in salary.
Yeah, but this is so egregious.
But Kelce is clearly the best skill player on the team. Like, I have to see what Juju's gonna do. But looking at honestly for DraftKings, to have both Ronald Jones, who is now on Kansas City, and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, both more expensive than Juju.
Oh, I knew that. Why did I think? You know what it is? It's that red combination, dude. I get this in the Buccaneers mixed up a lot because their jerseys look very similar to my colorblind eyes sometimes. That's what it is.
I agree with you. You're wrong. It's Kelce. Stop. Don't be stupid.
Yeah, he's got a 95%, man. But this one,
he's doing good. First miss, he whiffed it, but it's his first miss. Totally whiffed this one, but first miss.
This is such a bad whiff, man. I would, if I was his teacher.
But to be gone, this is a guy who was batting 1,000, getting on base, hit a home run. He's done a lot of good stuff. Oh my God. And then all of a sudden, boom, somehow you struck out in 2 strikes instead of 3. Okay. Don't even know how that's possible.
So let's have a little fun because this is so absurd. I don't think there'll be a thing on this list that is controversial as this one. And give me a scenario in which Clyde would outscore Kelsey, not injury related. Because the injury related excuse would be easy. So you have to tell me realistically what went through this guy's mind that wouldn't be injury related. How does Clyde score more than Kelsey?
I feel like it would be very hard because it's a twofold thing that would need to happen.
Yeah.
The new core of wide receivers that is now in Kansas City. So your Juju, your Marquez Valdez-Scantling, those guys. If they are able to keep up the production of the passing game that Patrick Mahomes has had with Tyreek Hill in the last couple years, then Kelsey doesn't have to do as much. And then maybe it's like last year where they're not throwing Kelsey the ball in the red zone. And now, so like all of that can happen. That's the first thing that has to happen, is that the passing game has to basically do what it did last year with the new receiving core and no Tyreek Hill. And like not throwing Kelsey the ball in the red zone like they. Yeah. So that's one. Then on the other side, Clyde Edwards-Helaire himself has to have a hot year where all those red zone touches that he's able to convert. And so now he has a 15-plus touchdown year. That's how he's the higher scoring guy.
Two quick things.
Their offense could do it. I just don't know. I think they're going to have to rely on Kelsey more.
Yeah, the only way Kelsey would underscore Clyde Edwards-Helaire season long, in my opinion, would be, and even week one, would be, and this is, I told you no injury for Kelsey, but I'll give you the Dark Knight scenario. It would have to be an injury to Patrick Mahomes, where they bring in like a short arm quarterback like a Chad Henne, and like they just run the ball more and they're doing dump off to the running back. That's the only.
See, I was thinking it would have to be an injury to either I was thinking either Kelsey would have to get injured,
right,
or it would have to be some kind of major injury to the offense. Where it's like, well, I guess you're just going to be slowly grinding and running the ball down all games.
And two, as a Lions fan, I want to shake Andy Reid's hand, or whoever decided to draft Edwards ahead of Swift. Thank you very much.
All right. What's the next team?
So the next team is Jonathan Taylor with the Colts. He gets back on track. I don't even got to look.
Yep, Jonathan Taylor is the number one guy in the whole league. He's the number one scorer. He's the top salaried guy out of everyone. He's definitely the top salaried guy in Indy. You're right. There you go. Again, like I said, over here hitting dingers, and somehow he struck out in two in that one time. It's like he's the greatest of all time.
Jonathan Taylor, obviously there's ways to build lineups like that would go into lineup construction, but if Price wasn't considered, Jonathan Taylor is either one or two in your lineup 100%, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm building my cash game. Like, just plug him in first.
Okay. I don't think we need to talk any further than that. So we'll go on to the Commanders. He has Terry McLaurin. I would agree with that. I think McLaurin, there's been a lot of hate on Carson Wentz, but I don't even think it matters how good Carson Wentz is. I think just having Carson Wentz, who does I don't know how else to say, he does tend to let the balls hang a little lower than Tyler Heineke and take more chances. He's not Brett Favre, but he's willing to give his star players more chances. I think Terry's in prime position to really kind of take his game from the local diner restaurant to the fine dining experience this season. I think he's going to take a huge leap in production and also perception of value. I just think Terry McLaurin's soon going to be a top wide receiver in DraftKings values.
See, and I really like Antonio Gibson. I think McLaurin is the number one. McLaurin is the number one guy for them.
Yeah.
Gibson is number two. I could see Gibson. I think I know what Ron Rivera wants to do. I know he could totally let Gibson be a little McCaffrey. And if Gibson's able to stay healthy, he could be a monster running back.
I know a lot of people were high really quickly on the Eagles as the main combatant to the Cowboys, but I honestly think the Commanders and the Cowboys are the two best teams because I think people are forgetting that the Commanders had a lot of injuries on defense as well. I mean, they're going to get Chase Young back, and so I just think that team is a sneaky good team to bet on if you guys lean that way. Let's go on to the next team here.
Yep. Who we got next?
What we got the team in the division. He's got CeeDee Lamb as the Cowboys' best offensive weapon.
And I would agree. I would agree with that. Zeke is number two still, but I would agree it's definitely got to be CeeDee.
Maybe not
Amari. Say it again.
Well, I would say maybe not talent-wise. You can make the argument that Elliott may be more talented, which I would still disagree with.
But CeeDee should be the better DraftKings skill player, and he should be the highest.
Well, just the volume alone, because what did they lost Gallup. They don't really have any other wide receivers. I'm not a believer in Dalton Schultz. And it's a PPR website. I honestly think that CeeDee could lead the league in targets, receptions. I think we could see a Jamar Chase-like season from CeeDee Lamb this year.
It could happen. I don't know. Well, he could definitely have a breakout year. It depends on how well Dak throws.
I mean, Michael Gallup is going to come back in about 5 to 6 weeks, but I just don't see much competition in that wide receiver room for CeeDee right now. So I just think opportunity reigns supreme in DraftKings. He might be one of the better picks just to look at. Because, I mean, we could be looking at week one, him getting 14 targets in week one. I could see it.
I could see that too.
Let's go with a guy that might not get as many targets, but is probably still the fastest wide receiver in the league. The Dolphins, Tyreek Hill, he says, is the Dolphins' primary option. And
that is correct. He is a few hundred more than Jalen Waddle. And it would have been Jalen Waddle until they signed Tyreek Hill, but it is definitely Tyreek Hill.
But Waddle's not far behind, but it is Tyreek.
Yes.
And
the key is who is Cedric Wilson as their third wide receiver. Could be very sneaky.
The Cowboys wish they had a redo. I think if they knew what they knew about Gallup, they wish they would do a redo. That's what I think about Wilson and that offense as a whole. I actually think Tyreek Hill without Mahomes, I think both players will actually do better. I think it's a Matthew Stafford, Kelvin Johnson scenario where now that they're separated, we can appreciate them for two different entities. And I think Tyreek's going to show a different skill set than he showed with the Chiefs, but he's still going to be successful on the field.
I agree with that. What's the next team?
So the next team is the Eagles. He has Miles Sanders.
Miles Sanders?
Yeah, I would disagree completely. It's A.J. Brown for me.
It is A.J. Brown on DraftKings as well, and I would also give you A.J. Brown, and I would have said Devonta Smith if A.J. Brown hadn't been signed to the team over Miles Sanders.
Yeah, I think they like Gainwell too. Miles Sanders might lose his job.
They're definitely trying to phase him out. But the Eagles have sort of done they are going to get what they can out of Miles Sanders and Gainwell and Scott, and whoever's got the hot legs that week, that's who's going to run with Hurts and the rest of the offense. The offense is going to be those two receivers and Go dare.
I swear to you, Donnie, this man is in his 20s. He might build a flex lineup like he's in the 1980s, 1990s. So these running back heavy teams, but he is a young cat.
Yeah. But it's another one of those scenarios where, like, I don't like the running backs in that team because Jalen Hurts is going to steal that rushing touchdowns.
That's just the point I was going to make. Even if you thought that Hurts wasn't a good quarterback and like maybe he can't utilize AJ to his full potential, which I disagree with. I think Hurts is a tremendous quarterback and an underrated thrower. I mean, as much credit as Michael Vick always got for being a thrower and being able to throw the ball and run, I think Hurts is just as good, if not better in some ways. I think Hurts has really showed a lot of development, and he still kind of gets labeled as that running quarterback a lot. And thank God he didn't get hurt, by the way. That Jets hit was really dirty. I just want to mention that. I'm glad he's healthy because I think Hurts could be a great fantasy option. And I would definitely, if you talked about the last episode, plug for last episode, so like and subscribe, guys, and check out our previous episodes as we gear up for the NFL season. We did talk about stacking. I would definitely stack a Hurts and AJ before I would stack a Sanders team. Maybe have some KFC Sanders chicken for football, but I won't be having Miles Sanders week 1. The next team is the Falcons. He has Cordell Patterson.
Okay, Falcons. I've seen them. There they are.
I disagree with that. I think it's Pitts. I don't think it's close.
They are $100 off, and it is Patterson for DK. And I got to give you that. Like, I'm going to have to disagree with you on that. Like, I'm with DK. It probably should be Patterson. If Patterson, as they have him listed, is their running back, and he's essentially a Deebo Samuel, yeah, I think that's the best skill player on that team.
I'm going to sound like a hater now, but I would have had him at 3. I would have put London ahead of him.
London is the 3 on the list. And I agree with that. I got to let a rookie prove it. Like, I can't just make, unless there's no skill talent whatsoever, I can't just make a rookie that's not like the number 1 overall pick or something as like the top skill player on the team.
I guess I just view this team like the 76ers a few years ago, where they're like, trust the process. We're going to get all these young guys out there, and we're going to do things different than most teams do, like giving Marcus Mariota a second chance, which I actually love for the kid because I'm a big Marcus guy. But like, they've definitely leaned into a different mindset than most of the NFL. But kind of a fun team. Like, the Bears are going to be a bad team. I think the Falcons might be a good, fun, bad team. I'll say that.
No, maybe. What's the next team?
Let's see. The next team. Sorry, my phone went. It's the Giants. Saquon Barkley.
I don't think that is actually wrong. Hold on, the Giants are up here.
I think that's correct. I think, barring injury, I think he's clearly far and away going to have a breakout year. I'm high on Barkley this year.
Yep, it is Barkley, and he is over $1,000 more than any other skill player.
You agree with that?
And he's not horribly expensive. Like, that could be a very good play week 1.
That's a very good play to me. And also Kenny Golladay, I think, is going to have a bounce back year. I'll just mention another Giant that I think is going to slip on. I think a lot of people like Tony, but I wouldn't sleep on Saquon or Kenny as 2 like done it before guys. Like, that's the thing about Tony that I don't understand. It's like, people are high on him, but he's never done it in the league. At least Saquon and Kenny Golladay have done it. You know what I mean?
True.
Because like, it's not even like you could say, well, Kenny and Daniel Jones have to be on the same page. It's like, well, Tony's a wide receiver too. They have to be on the same page. And so, like, but Tony has no rapport in the NFL, you know. like he's coming off a rookie year. So I don't get that one. But on to the next team. He's got the Jags with Travis Etienne.
Jacksonville is right here. Boom. And it is a tie between Travis Etienne and James Robinson. Basically, DraftKings doesn't know which one of those two running backs is going to be the starter. So they made them both the same price.
And I would favor Etienne, Travis Etienne, because of the pass catching ability.
See, I don't know about that. I've seen James Robinson not be horrible in the passing game and be used in the passing game when he's healthy. Like I don't see any reason why you don't just like run James Robinson as much as possible if he's healthy and he's the guy.
I like James Robinson definitely as the goal line guy. I just think
now I think they're probably going to try to throw it more considering they paid all that money to Christian Kirk.
Yeah, you could make the argument Christian Kirk should be the guy, but I guess that's the thing is I just see them using both running backs more. I could really see them using Etienne as a wide receiver, and having Robinson on the field at the same time, similar to Debo. I really could.
Yeah, I could see something like that, or him being like the new James White, where he's in there for passes and stuff.
This one is totally wrong in my opinion. He's got the Jets with Michael Carter. Michael Carter might not even start week 1. In fact,
they have Michael Carter. They do have Michael Carter as the number 2 guy, but the guy ahead of him is Breece Hall.
Breece Hall. They're going to give Breece Hall all the other, and now that Zach Wilson is injured, they're definitely going to lean heavier on that rushing game. It's feared that Wilson might have a torn ACL. So we're looking at Mike White for potentially the remainder of the season. So you're going to rely heavy on the running back. I just think it's Breece Hall for me.
It will probably be if Breece Hall's the starter. It's going to be Breece Hall.
And if it's not Breece Hall, it's the wide receiver
Elijah Moore.
Because Elijah Moore coming out of Ole Miss was tremendous. I really liked his upside. He reminded me of young Odell Beckham. I like the kid a lot. Going on to the next team would be the Lions. He has DeAndre Swift.
And hold on. There we go. And DraftKings agrees with him.
Yeah, I would agree because he's a Swift Army knife. Like pun intended. He is like a poor man's Alvin Kamara. So do you want to add anything else? I mean, I don't want to seem like a homer, so I kind of want to keep mine kind of brief.
I really do like Amon-Ra St. Brown, but I agree with the rushing work he's going to get on that team. Like Swift is definitely the number 1 guy there.
But I will say to your point though, Brown does get a lot of jet sweep opportunities. You could argue that he might be in motion more than Swift is this season. Like, not saying he will run the ball, obviously, more than Swift. But we do like to move around.
They can all eat. Like, both of those guys were tending to eat each other's targets last year in those little low A-dot dump off targets. Which means a guy like Shark or a guy like Hawkinson who are running different routes could end up being good this year if they cover Swift and St. Brown.
I think Shark is very underrated this in week 1. I'll say that because he's just going to open up a lot for Swift, for Hawkinson. I like that a lot, and St. Brown. I guess the argument against Swift would be Jamal Williams staying healthy. And you already know St. Brown already has a role on the team, and he is our primary option. and he can do it at all levels. He's kind of a younger Keenan Allen, if you will. Very good route runner.
All right, hold on. Go on to the next team. I will be right back. I have to check on something. Sorry.
Oh, you're good, man. Look, let me vamp a little bit while go take some time here. We want to like and subscribe. We're going to come out with our next contest selection video in the next couple days. As we ramp up, we'll have more guests on. I'm hoping to do a NFL kind of show where we have like a closer to the season, closer to the beginning of September, where we kind of do like a NFL hangout show where we just kind of hang out, have a few drinks, do it maybe like almost a live show. See if we can get guys like Mike to come back and just have a good time and kick it right before the NFL season. So that's kind of the goal. I'll go on to the next team just so we can keep a rhythm here. And I know Doug won't mind it too much.
I am back.
Oh, see, you're back. So let's change it up because I think this will get interesting if we scroll to the bottom here. Let's go to get some of these more obvious ones out of the way. Let's go to the Titans with Derrick Henry. No arguments there, right?
Nope. No arguments. Definitely there. I like Pitt. I like the rest of the receiving core that they get, but
yeah,
it's Tennessee. Like it's Tennessee. I don't trust Ryan Tannehill. So
right. The only argument
Robert Woods is great, but Treylon Burks should be nice, but no, it's Henry.
Well, I'll say this: Robert Woods is probably the best blocking wide receiver in the league, and you just paired him with Derrick Henry. So
agreed. Oh, that could be people. Yeah.
I mean, honestly, people have been saying like, if Robert Woods 5 years from now could obviously finish up his career into his late 30s being a tight end. So that tells you how good of a blocker he is, which is going to help both players, obviously, because you help the team. But I think it's Derrick Henry. It's not close.
All right. Next team. Got another obvious one?
The next team, well, this is pretty obvious to me. It would be Seattle Seahawks, DK Metcalf.
Yep. They're not on the main slate, but I agree with that 100%.
Yeah, I honestly think maybe you see worse quarterback play in terms of efficiency, but that's also really good sometimes for fantasy because they might be down in games more because the quarterback throws more interceptions. He then has to take chances later in games, Brett Favre style, and that's going to favor a guy like DK.
Agreed.
The next team would be the Vikings with Dalvin Cook.
Okay, so this is a controversial one.
Because I think it's Jamar Jefferson.
I think it's Jamar Jefferson. I think it should be Jamar Jefferson. It is Dalvin Cook by $100.
I think it should be, especially given that DK is a PPR website and Madison isn't terrible, and Dalvin has injury history. Jamar Jefferson's going to explode, especially coming with a more pass-happy first-time head coach who's looking to prove something. Like the man is, he has cut with a Daboll kind of approach where I think he's going to lean heavy pass this year with even Adam Thielen. I mean, this team's going to see a spike in their passing efficiency. Let's just say that. And I think that's going to favor Jefferson. Anything else to add?
No, I agree with that 100%. I'm on Jefferson as well.
Cook's not a bad pass catcher, though.
No, he is a very solid back. I agree with the injury. Like, if I had no injury risk, I would say that these guys should be exactly even.
Yeah, and also given the age regression, too. You just got to – Jefferson's primed and ready. That sports car is ready to take off. So the next team is Brandon Cooks of the Texans.
He is the number one, well above anyone else. I would agree with that. I mean, Marlon Mack, the top running back, or is Rex Burkhead, or is it Pierce?
Well, that's what he said. He said that he's cheering for Marlon Mack as like a comeback player of the year. Like, it's just a good story. So
I like him finally being out of Indy. And like maybe he wants to smack Indy with it week 1.
Yeah.
Indy's been known to lay an egg week 1. They've lost to Jacksonville, I think, like 2 straight years, week 1.
Yeah,
And now they're playing Houston.
We spoke about that rivalry. I told you I wanted to take a Houston player in my DraftKings lineup. It might be, if Marlon Mack is named the starter, I will probably play at least the Mack lineup because I think Mack is talented. So the next team is Najee Harris, probably the biggest cast in the entire league. And speaking of cast, he is the bell cow of that team.
Yep. Deontay is a close second, but like I don't think the passing game is going to be the same where Deontay or Claypool are going to be as relevant as the bell cow Najee Harris.
And this is where I'll give the nod. Usually I would say PPR website, you got to favor the wide receiver. I love Johnson. But Harris is a very sneaky. He's got Derrick Henry tendencies, but he's got so much better buttery, soft hands. I'm a big fan of Harris. Not a big fan of that team's outlook, but a big fan of Harris.
Agreed.
He's got Alvin Kamara with the Saints. I would agree with that, but Michael Thomas is sneaky good week 1. I'll say that. If you're listening this far in the podcast, I'll give you a little worm to go fishing with. I think Michael Thomas is one of the best values on the board because I think everyone's gonna be scared to play him, and I still would view him as a top option, especially with a risk-averse quarterback like Jameis Winston. But Kamara is more consistent. Barring his legal troubles, therefore, I just don't see any other reason why you wouldn't say Kamara.
Agreed. Thomas is good, and we'll see what happens. Landry's a nice addition, but it's Kamara.
We're gonna disagree with you here, Donnie. I know we will. He's got the Ravens with J.K. Dobbins because he says that J.K. Dobbins has like special abilities to do everything.
This is another one where he is disregarding the absolute ability of these tight ends.
Yeah.
It's Mark Andrews.
I don't know why people...
It is Dobbins number 2. I like him over Bateman, but it is Mark Andrews.
People even love Waller over Andrews, and like, I get that Waller is like good, but Andrews is like, dude, I don't know what Andrews has to do to get respect in the league. I think Andrews at this point is better than Travis Kelce. I think he's like 1-2 in the league. Like, forget the Ravens. If you got a run, man, I can finish this list without you.
Nope, we're good for right now. So let's go on to the next team.
So he's got the Packers, Aaron Jones. I would agree with that.
Okay. Yeah. It's definitely Jones. With no Adams there, it's definitely Jones.
Not only that, but Jones.
And it is Jones, yes.
Jones can catch the ball, and he has the trust of Aaron Rodgers, which a million podcasts have said that since the offseason, so we don't need to vomit that point, but it's true. I mean, look at all the pass catchers they have on the team. Rodgers does have a propensity to only go to people he trusts. He definitely, the oldest veteran on that team I think that he would trust would be Jones. The only argument you could say against it was maybe Jones is off the field for some red zone stuff with A.J. Dillon, but still, boy, Jones' pass efficiency is just going to vault him up the board. Another no-brainer here would be your Panthers with Christian McCaffrey.
Get no-brainer. Yep.
I think
no argument. It's McCaffrey.
He's the best value on DraftKings, by the way. If he's not 36 or 37% on week 1, I'd be really surprised.
Agreed.
he's a big Patriots guy. He thinks it's Damian Harris.
Let's see. Patriots. Oh, yeah, they're right here. Okay. Claim the Dolphins. It is Damian Harris over Ramondre Stevenson by a small bit.
Basically, whoever starts at running back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, even like, I think Stevenson's still going to start, but Harris is probably going to be the red zone touchdown vulture guy. So, like, in that three-headed backfield where, like, yes, James White retired, but I feel like they're going to use like a Ty Montgomery, the wide receiver, or a Patrick Strong Jr. as that type of player to go with Harris and Stevenson and keep running their same three-headed running game.
First of all, they have Matt Patricia, who's never called offense in his life, calling plays for that team. I just feel like that team is definitely going to run like a 1960s offense. It's definitely going to be very run-centric. I don't think they're going to want to do anything crazy. They're going to want Bill Belichick to be versatile on defense and just be an annoying grinder, like a honeybee that just swarms you on defense. And that's going to lend itself to whoever the number one running back is for the Patriots.
True. All right, what's the next team?
The next team is the Raiders with Josh Jacobs, which I think he forgot about Davante Adams. I think he got drunk again.
Yeah, he clearly forgot about Davante Adams, who was going to be the number one. Now, I am not as big with everyone on that. Like, I think a lot of what Davante Adams had that made him like one of the top three receivers was the efficiency that he was getting from Aaron Rodgers. And I do not think that he's going to get enough volume in the Raiders offense with guys like Waller and Renfro and Mouse to feed. That's going to make up for that efficiency loss he's getting from going from Rodgers to Derek Carr.
They drafted a running back in White. They don't necessarily have that much invested in Jacobs. He was drafted by the previous Mike Mayock and John Gruden regime. I think it's clearly Adams, then Waller, and then Hunter Renfrow. I don't even have Josh Jacobs in my top five, I don't think.
They have him two. It's Adams by a clear, like a couple $1,000s above everyone else, Adams. Then it's Jacobs. 500 lower is Renfro. 400 lower is Waller. And all of these guys are above 5K. So
how would you rank them? Because I would rank them Adams, Waller, Hunter, Jacobs, I guess.
I think I would agree with that. Adams, Waller. I might go Jacobs over Renfro. But maybe. It's hard to take a running back when I know he's on the way out. But Jacobs isn't a bad running back. So it's like he's a guy he's on the way out, but he's on the way out when he needs to go sign a new deal somewhere else, not because we're trying to get rid of him.
No, I like Jacobs, but it's like maybe it's our fantasy brains, but like when you think about all the good running back options, Taylor, even a Delvin Cook, even a Nick Chubb, Swift, some of these lower guys we talked about already. Waller, like tight end, is hard to find production with, and you would assume that even if Adams is too expensive for you, it's going to open up the middle, similar to the Hawkinson kind of discussion we just had, and so Waller eats. But I won't take any more time. I think we pretty much hit on that one. But
yep,
good conversation. And I think we got them all after this, man. The only other team would be the Rams with Cooper Kupp.
And that's clear. And they're also on the showdown slate with the Bills on Thursday night.
And I think our cup is full with this podcast. Honestly, I don't think we need to spend more time on it. Everyone, I mean, even my mom would tell you that Cooper Kupp and Matthew Stafford have breakfast together now. That narrative has went to the Today Show audience. Like, everyone knows the rapport those guys have. That's not to say that it's a bad thing, like when that kind of stuff comes out. It's like the Gronkowski-Tom Brady relationship, but I don't think there's even a clear number two in terms of Matthew Stafford's trust. I would say this, though. He does love Allen Robinson. So I won't be paying for Cooper Kupp because I think he's one of the worst values on the slate, because I think Stafford does spread it out more unless Allen Robinson does get hurt. Because you got to remember, Allen played with the Bears in Stafford's division for years. And Allen came from Detroit. So even before Allen was in the league, he was obviously familiar with Matthew Stafford and they had a rapport. So I don't think enough people are talking about that. Allen and Stafford have such a good mutual respect for each other. It's not that Cooper Kupp's not going to have a good year, but I think Cooper Kupp is probably some of the worst value on the slate in week one.
He might be.
It's like the opposite of Adams. Like, you can make the case that he's not worth it either, but at least with Adams, Carr and like they're going to want to show off the toy. Stafford might want to show off Allen, and then Cooper might be like, look, we just won a Super Bowl, man. Let's show off our new toys because our last one got dinged up a little bit. I don't want to end up like Odell. Let's play, let's play it, Allen. And Allen's going to be super motivated because he's never played with a quarterback as good as Stafford. So, or even on as good of a team. Now, we didn't get to much contest selection, and I don't want this podcast to go long. So let's do this. Let's tease the people. Come back relatively shortly in the next couple of days. Gov, what's the number one thing about contest selection that's important to you?
The most important thing to me when it comes to contest selection.
Yeah.
The thing I look for the most is the worth. For me, it's the worth of how do I put it? Like, the worth is not the right word. It's what's the value am I getting in this tournament? Like, I can go through the lobby and I can see what's the entry fee to a tournament compared to whether it's a multi-entry tournament, and then what's the top prize, and like comparing those and finding out what the most beneficial tournaments for me to get into. That's the most important thing. That being said, that only comes into play after I've set us up parameters based off of my bankroll on what I'm looking for and what I'm trying to play.
Yeah.
And so I would set up my parameters based off of my bankroll, figure out what kind of contest I want to look for, then go and find the most profitable and valuable contests in those, whether there are certain multi-entries, maybe there are a certain price range, combination of both, single entry, whatever it is. Then from there, depending on whether it's single entry, 3 max, or multi-entry, I would build a lineup with enough leverage for that tournament.
Yeah. Here's what I would say. There's 3 different bathrooms in this world. There's a men's bathroom, there's a female bathroom, and then there's a unisex bathroom. And I think that's like contest selection and DraftKings. There are commonalities between women's bathroom and men's bathroom, but me and Gov would never walk into those scenarios, So you have to know why you play DraftKings. I will never play a $1 million maker unless I want to play a lottery ticket.
Agreed. I don't play the Millie Maker.
Just like we know some higher stakes guys that even though they won't play lower stakes because it doesn't get their heart rate up. It's not that it's a bad contest. It's not that they're looking down at people that have lower bankrolls. It just doesn't do anything for them. And just like going to the bathroom, you should always go to the bathroom with purpose. You know, my parents always said that bathrooms were a serious place where you wash your hands, you do your business. And DraftKings is a bit different. You can have fun on DraftKings. Like, you could just be like, you know what? I work all week long. On the weekends, I like to throw $25 in a slip and slide contest, and this is my lottery ticket, and I'm going to have fun. And there are ways to build that lineup, but that's not how I attack slates. And as long as you know why you play, then I feel like you can build the house that you want.
Agreed 100%.
Yeah, you can't go ahead and build the same house in northern Michigan that you would in, Nevada. It's just the climates are different. So just you gotta know what you're doing, you know. And we'll talk about that next week. Is there any other last minute topics? I mean, we've done pretty good about keeping these about an hour, so I kind of want to keep that rhythm, keep that music going, because I think we're pumping these out, and I think we're giving the people good content.
Yeah, I agree with you on that, and I'm like, I got nothing else to say right now. I nice list by the guy. I like. He was pretty dead on. It seems like he doesn't value tight ends enough, and a lot of people don't value tight ends enough.
Especially, like, you got to remember, this guy plays fantasy, but like season long, he's never really looked at DraftKings. So he's kind of got that like hero running back mentality still that a lot of old like
right. And the running backs are usually high. Like, running backs get a lot of points, so like it's not wrong to have them high on your list.
But I do think it's a good discussion to have, because I do think like people like me and Gus who look at these salaries a lot can sometimes talk ourselves into the like sexy play or like the contrarian play, and we just forget like, hey, this guy is good. And at the end of the day, sometimes you just want to play the good players. Speaking of good, be good, guys. Take care. Be safe. We'll be back with you in a couple days. Thanks for hanging with us. Till next time.
Peace out, everyone.